Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wordy Tales. In today's story, we'll discover why hard work and persistence are the true keys to achieving our dreams. As we listen, we'll also learn new English words and how to use them in sentences. It's a great way to practice English while enjoying a good story, so make sure to stay with us till the end. It was a bright morning in a small, lively village. The streets were busy with people going about their usual activities. Farmers carried their tools to the fields, shopkeepers opened their doors, and traders arranged their goods at the marketplace. The smell of freshly baked bread filled the air, and the sound of chatter and laughter echoed through the lanes. But while everyone seemed busy, one young man sat lazily under the shade of a large tree, lost in his own world. His name was Theo. Theo was known throughout the village for his laziness. He was young, tall, and healthy, strong enough to work, but he simply refused to put in any effort. Instead, he spent most of his days dreaming of becoming rich. He believed that one day luck would smile upon him and his fortune would arrive without him lifting a finger. The villagers often pitied him. Sometimes they offered him food out of kindness. Some gave him bread, others gave him fruit or milk. But Theo never showed gratitude for long. He would take what he could and then go back to his favorite spot beneath the tree to dream about wealth and luxury. In truth, Theo's poverty wasn't caused by bad luck. It was caused by his lack of action. One morning, a wealthy merchant from the village decided to share his blessings. He had just finished a successful trading season and wanted to give back to the poor. He began distributing pots of fresh milk to the villagers as a gesture of gratitude for the bountiful year. When Theo heard this, his eyes lit up. "Free milk?" he said to himself. "That's perfect. I'll get mine before it runs out." He rushed to the merchant's house and joined the long line of villagers. When his turn came, the merchant handed him a pot of creamy white milk, still warm and smelling delicious. He held it as if it were treasure. Overjoyed, he hurried home, dreaming about the meal he would make. At home, his small kitchen was simple, just a clay stove, some firewood, and a few old pots. His father had already gone to the fields to work, leaving behind 2 pieces of bread for breakfast. He placed the pot of milk on the stove and lit the fire. As it began to boil, he smiled proudly. "Look at me," he said aloud. "I'm about to have a royal meal." When the milk was ready, he poured some into a cup and enjoyed it with the bread. It was the best breakfast he had had in a long time. After finishing, he set aside the remaining milk beside his bed. But instead of cleaning up or helping his father in the fields, he decided to lie down. As he stared at the ceiling, his mind began to wander. His imagination took over, and soon he was lost in a beautiful daydream. Theo looked at the pot of milk and began to imagine the future. By tomorrow morning, he thought, the milk will turn into cheese. I'll take the cheese to the market and sell it. With that money, I'll buy a hen. The hen will lay eggs, and I'll sell those eggs to buy more hens. Soon, I'll have hundreds of chickens. He smiled at the thought. Then, I'll sell the chickens and buy cows. I'll open a dairy farm, and the entire village will buy milk for me. I'll be the richest man in town. I'll buy jewelry and fine clothes, and maybe even the king will come to trade with me. I'll become famous and wealthy. Theo's dream grew bigger and more detailed. He imagined living in a large house with servants. He pictured himself riding a horse through the village, everyone bowing as he passed. He continued, "And then I'll marry a beautiful woman from a rich family. We'll have a son, and if he ever becomes lazy, I'll teach him a lesson. I'll hit him with a stick and say, 'How dare you be lazy when your father started with nothing but a pot of milk?'" As Theo imagined scolding his future son, he picked up a small stick from beside his bed and swung it through the air. But he didn't realize how close the pot of milk was. In one quick motion, his hand struck the pot and it tipped over. Crash! The pot fell to the floor, spilling the milk everywhere. He froze, his mouth open in shock. The white liquid spread across the floor, soaking into the dirt. He stared at it, unable to move. His entire fantasy disappeared in an instant. All his dreams of cheese, hens, cows, and riches were gone. He sat there quietly, the reality of his mistake sinking in. After a while, he got up, cleaned the floor, and sighed deeply. My milk, my cheese, my farm, all gone. That night, Theo couldn't sleep. He stared at the empty corner where the pot had stood. He realized that everything he had imagined had been built on nothing but laziness and wishful thinking. He had done nothing to earn that milk. And just like that, it was gone. The next morning, Theo walked around the village again. He watched others working, women sweeping, men carrying loads, children helping their parents. He felt something strange in his heart. For the first time, he envied not their possessions, but their purpose. They had work, goals, and effort. He had only dreams. He wandered past the fields where his father was bent over, working under the hot sun. He stopped and watched him for a while. Sweat dripped down his face, but there was peace in his eyes. Every swing of the hoe, every pull of the weeds meant progress. Theo suddenly understood something. His father wasn't poor because he worked. He was respected because he worked. That evening, Theo sat quietly at home. The sun was setting and the air smelled of smoke and wet earth. He looked at his calloused free hands and thought, if I want my life to change, I have to change myself first. That night, before he slept, he whispered, tomorrow I will work. When morning came, Theo woke up before sunrise. His father was surprised to see him up so early. Going somewhere? His father asked. Yes, Theo said, to the fields. I want to help you today. His eyes softened with surprise and pride. Then come, he said simply. That day, Theo worked harder than he ever had. His hands burned from the tools and his back ached from bending, but he didn't stop. For the first time, he felt the satisfaction of effort. When they returned home that evening, his father patted his shoulder. You've done well, my son. Hard work brings peace. Theo smiled. You're right, father. I wasted so much time waiting for luck, but hard work, it actually feels good. From that day forward, Theo worked in the fields every morning. At first, he was clumsy and slow, but over time, he grew stronger and faster. He learned to plant, harvest, and trade. The villagers who once pitied him now nodded with respect when they saw him working beside his father. Months passed. He saved small amounts of money and finally bought a hen, not from a dream, but from real effort. He took care of it, and soon it laid eggs. He sold the eggs and bought another hen. Slowly, his small collection grew. He built a simple chicken coop behind the house, just big enough to keep them safe. Years later, Theo's life had completely changed. He had a small but thriving farm with chickens and cows. People came to buy milk and eggs from him. He still lived modestly, but his eyes were bright with pride. Every time he looked at his animals, he remembered the pot of milk he once spilled, the moment that taught him one of life's greatest lessons. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a group of children passed by his farm. They pointed at Theo and said, "That's the man who used to be lazy. Look at him now." Theo laughed and said kindly, "Yes, I used to dream all day, and that got me nothing. Hard work is what changed my story." He turned to one of the boys and said, "Remember this. Dreams are beautiful, but they mean nothing if you don't work for them. Effort is the bridge between fantasy and reality. The boy nodded, and Theo smiled, feeling a warmth in his heart. He had not only changed his life, but also learned to inspire others. So friends, what can we learn from Theo's story? Sometimes we all behave a little like him. We want success, happiness, and fortune, but we hope it will come without effort. In truth, dreams alone are not enough. Action gives them power. If we want to succeed, the key is hard work. If we want to grow, the key is discipline. And if we want blessings, the key is gratitude and prayer. Even small, consistent actions can lead to big changes. Remember,